yourselves together. I jumped on a couple minutes early, so if anybody is joining a few minutes early and you wanted to say hi or ask any questions, feel free to do so now. Otherwise, we'll just be sitting here for another minute or two before we begin our gentle yoga practice today. Hoping that you all are doing as well as you can be doing right now and enjoying some maybe slowing down time, which can be challenging for some of us, right? So just being mindful to always honor that. So again, if you're here and you want to say hi or want to type in something, feel free to go ahead and do that. We have about another minute or two until we begin here. I'm guessing, I don't really know what the time and situation is, but I guess the time is now, right? I'm going to be reading some things today from this book that I recently got. It's called It All Abides in Love, Maharaji Neem Karoli Baba. I ordered off Amazon. It did take quite a while to get here, but it is a great book about Maharaji and all the crazy mystical things that he has done in the human incarnation. So, pretty interesting stuff. So we're going to go ahead and begin our practice today. So when you are ready, you can go ahead and lie down on your back, getting yourself comfortable. So if you are at home and you're lying on your back, maybe you want to place a pillow underneath your head. Maybe take a pillow or roll up a blanket and place it underneath your knees. In any which way that is comfortable for you, just lying on your back and breathing. Not trying to do anything more, but just relax, letting the weight of the body fall heavy upon the floor. You are supported by the floor beneath you. The body, with each exhalation, surrenders just a little bit more. Inhaling, the belly rises nice and big, and exhale, the belly falls. Just comfortably lying on your back. Comfortably lying and breathing. Life is your own movie, the experience of your life. Witness the unfolding linear quality of your own life and the lives of others. Who is living that life? Is there something within you that is the experiencer of that life? Is that experiencer simply using your body as... There is also the Jivatma, which is the smaller I. That is your own experiencer within you. Your Jivatma is reborn in various bodies and carries your karma. The Jivatma transmigrates and is what the Christians call the soul. The Jivatma reincarnates. That is to say that this is the essence that migrates from body to body. There is no such thing as past lives. Time and space fundamentally do not exist. They are created by consciousness as the movie. In the science of Maharaji, consciousness is a means to appear in multiple places at the same time, to time travel, and can indeed restore life to dead body. The path of your life is what you were set upon with no deviation, that the movie of your life is there to watch, and your consciousness should just pull back from the drama of it enough that you can watch your life and many other lives unfold before you while you reside in a place of utter love as you observe the goings-on. It is much like surfing in that once begun, the wave will take you for the ride. You, of course, take action. Play out all the actions needed in your life, knowing full well it is what you are destined to do. So again, just settling in, allowing the body to feel heavy. Remembering that gentle yoga is not necessarily easy yoga. We're working through the physical movement of the body, the asana. So if anything is tingling or numb, or your breath becomes short, or you're just not feeling comfortable in a pose, then please go ahead and make a variation or a modification of that pose. Maybe we have something we're working through, something that's been part of our practice, a mantra, a word. Maybe we're spending some time with ourselves. So whatever it may be, make this practice about you today. A lot of times we practice yoga, especially the asana portion of the yoga practice, the yoga journey, and we dedicate the practice to somebody, right? We dedicate the practice to our husband, our wife, our dog, our cat, our lizard, our friend, our son, daughter, etc. Make this practice about you today. Don't let this practice be about anybody else. Just let the practice be exactly what it needs to be. So as we continue to settle in, noticing what the belly is doing as we inhale gets nice and big, as we draw that deep breath in. And then exhale, release all of the tension, all of the stress, all of the fear and the anxiety. And just continue to breathe like this, in and out of the nose. If breathing in and out of the nose is not available to you, then breathe in and out of the mouth. Taking 5 more rounds of breath here. So 5 inhalation and 5 exhalation. As we draw the breath in, we ground. We feel strong and confident and unconditionally loved. As we exhale, we release everything that stands in our way. Get rid of all of those things. Good. 2 more rounds of breath, inhaling and exhaling, slowly, mindfully. And then when you are ready, you can begin to wiggle your fingers and your toes. You can allow your head to turn from side to side if that is safe for your neck. If you have a prop, a blanket, a bolster, a pillow underneath your knees, you can go ahead and take that out now. You can go ahead and straighten the legs out in front of you, reaching the arms behind you only if it is safe for your shoulders, getting a nice long stretch through the body. Feeling a nice decompression there in the back of the body, in between each vertebrae. Good. Now go ahead and take your hands to the back right corner of your mat, or to your back right side, and then your feet to the right side, or the top right corner of the mat. So what you're doing is you're creating a banana shape with the body. So kind of like a backwards letter C with the body, feeling a nice deep stretch in that left side of the body. And once we find ourselves there, we can stay here just like that, or if we would like, we can also begin to deepen the stretch by crossing the left leg over the right at the ankles. So again, we are lying flat on our backs. We're bringing our arms over to the right and our feet over to the right, and maybe crossing that left leg over the right ankle. And just breathe here. If it's not safe for that left shoulder, if it's not comfortable for that left shoulder to be where it needs to be, then just release the left arm down by its side. But again, we're creating kind of this backwards, this is a regular shape C. Oh, no, backwards. I don't know. You know what I'm saying. So again, they call this banana asana because we're creating shape of the banana. So this is a really nice deep stretch for the side body. If there's any issues, any trauma on the side of this body, so if you have any scar tissue, or maybe this was an entry of port, or maybe you had some sort of surgery where you had like a lumpectomy or a mastectomy where they use this in their scar tissue there, you do want to be mindful about reaching that arm and getting a really deep stretch there, as that can cause some aggravation into that area of the body. We're just going to stay here for 2 more rounds of breath. So 2 more inhalation and 2 more exhalation. And then the third inhale, we're going to come back to center. Again, reaching opposite. Bring those arms behind you and those legs straight out in front of you. Then we're going to head on to the opposite side. So walk those legs over to the left and bring those arms over to the left. And again, we're just going to breathe here. So if the right shoulder is the bum side, and this is the side that's uncomfortable for us, then don't bring the right arm above your head. Just release it down by your side. Again, same rule applies with any trauma or scar tissue on the right side of the body. Getting a nice deep stretch into those deep muscles between the ribs, the intercostal muscles, allowing ourselves to breathe nice and full. So remember, the breath should not be short, it should not be quick, it should be slow and steady. So just breathe. Remembering today or this evening, whenever you're practicing, that it's about you. It's okay to take some time for yourself. We may have lived lives or currently live lives that are so busy that we have no idea what to do with ourselves. But again, we can be present as long as we are staying within our breath. Our breath is the one thing that is always present within us. Everything else will come and go. Maybe our physical ability to do a chaturanga or a handstand, that may come and go. But our breath will always be there. So we need to slow down enough to listen to what the breath is telling us to do. On your next inhale, go ahead and come back to center again. Legs straight out in front of you, arms straight behind you. And then we're going to slowly go ahead and release the arms down by the side. We're going to keep the right leg nice and long. You're going to go ahead and bend that left knee, pulling that left knee in towards the ribs. And then you're going to go ahead and send that left knee up into the armpit, coming into wind relieving pose. Making sure that the left foot is nice and flexed as you're holding this posture. If you're unable to wrap your hands on your shins, you can take your hands to the back of that left thigh. If you need assistance of a strap and you don't have one, you can always take a belt, or you can take the belt from a bathrobe or a dog leash or something like that. So this is a nice stretch here for the hip, for the outside part of the hip, even that hip adductor on the inside as well. And again, we're just slowing the breath down. We're allowing the nervous system to relax, allowing the decrease of cortisol and the increase of dopamine, allowing the breath to travel in all parts of our body. So we're feeling the breath even between the space of our toes. Remember to flex that left foot. Once we start to get comfortable, we just get lazy, right? We just kind of dump out. So you want to make sure that we're flexing that left foot. Making sure that right foot is flexed as well, because we're going to get a nice elongation there in the calcaneus tendon, the Achilles, and the back of the leg, all the way up to the 3 muscles of the hamstring. Good. And then on your next exhale, slowly release that left leg. We're going to go ahead on to the opposite side, so slowly bend in that right knee. If you just did the right side, don't worry about it, just do the opposite. Flex the right foot, flex the left foot. Now again, pulling it straight in and then kind of bringing it alongside of us. So trying to bring that right kneecap up into the right armpit. We're just breathing here, noticing how one side is going to be particularly tighter than the other, and that's okay. Making sure that if we're home, if we're not working, or we're on kind of this unknown break from our job, which a lot of us are, and it's scary and, can be nerve-wracking a little bit, making sure that we're getting up and moving every day, whether you're joining online with us here, you're jumping over to our YouTube channel, or, you're doing some sort of something, walking around your yard, or taking the dog for a walk around the neighborhood. Staying here for 3 more rounds of breath. So again, remember, a round of breath is an inhalation and an exhalation. So we're inhaling and exhaling through the nose. If it is not comfortable for us to go through the nose, then we go through the mouth. And when you're done, you're going to slowly, on the next exhale, release that right leg nice and long. Good. Keeping the arms down by the side. Go ahead and bend your knees, bringing your feet nice and flat onto the mat. And you're just going to go ahead and drop your knees over to the left on the exhale. Inhale back to center. Exhale to the right. So you're just dropping the knees back and forth. Slowly and mindfully following the breath. Inhale as the knees come to center. Exhale as they drop. And just going to both sides. You don't need to keep up with me. This is your practice. The video stays on our Facebook page, so you can always come back to it if you forgot this part or didn't really understand it, and you can look at me. Good. A few more times. Again, just kind of releasing any bit of tension or inflammation there in the hip joint. Right? Being mindful if you did have a hip replacement. The ab and abduction is usually what we need to do. So the abduction, AB, is away from the body. So that's when we drop the knee away from the body, away from the midline, and the adduction is closer. So again, we're just 2 more times on each side, being mindful. If we're sitting around and watching a lot of Netflix, this is probably going to be a pretty, pose will feel pretty good for us. Good. Then when we find our way back to center, you're going to go ahead and take the bottoms of your feet together, and you're going to let your knees splay out to the side. You're welcome here to take a block or a bolster underneath your knees. So we're going to have the bottoms of our feet together. I like to take my hands like this and press on those knees a little bit, feeling a nice stretch here in that groin muscle, that adduct. And we're just going to stay here again for about 4 to 5 rounds of breath. If it's terribly uncomfortable for you, then don't bring your knees down so far. So again, we're just breathing here. Noticing the constant, noticing the one thing that is present, and that is the breath. The thoughts have already come and gone. You've probably already had 100 thoughts since we started this practice, but that's okay. Good. Now, keeping the bottoms of the feet together, we're going to go ahead and slide the feet away from the groin. And again, we're going to go ahead and press down on the inside part of those thighs. So a lot of people feel a little bit of pressure here in the hips. So again, being mindful, right? Being mindful that if we did have a hip replacement, this might be contraindicating or something that we should be mindful of. As we're taking the knees away from the midline, the hip is coming open here, right? So we want to make sure that that is something that's going to be accessible to us. If you're ever doubtful or you don't know, you're always welcome to private message us or email us, or maybe contact, your doctor or speak to your chiropractor or something and ask them, which direction should I not be moving my hips? But for most people, post-surgery, post-op, 6, 8, 12, 16 weeks, everybody varies, every body is different. But we usually have a fairly decent range of motion in that hip, but we still do need to be mindful of that. Good. Now go ahead and bring your hands to your knees with a little bit of support, and go ahead and bring those knees back. And then we're going to go ahead and walk those heels in nice and close. Maybe we can grab onto the ankles and pull the heels in so close that they're actually touching our butt. Good. Keeping the knees together, we're going to go ahead and we're going to actively push the knees forward, lifting the hips up on the inhale. And then we're going to exhale, slowly lower down. We're just going to pulse like this for a few rounds of breath. So inhale, lift the hips up, press the knees forward. Exhale, slowly lower down. Good. 5 or 6 more, just like that. Take your time and breathe. Inhaling, letting the power of the breath lift those hips up, pressing those knees forward. Exhale, release. Good. A couple more, just like this. Inhale and exhale. Two more at your own pace. Take your time. There's no rush. There is no race. If you finish with those 2, you're going to go ahead and come back into that grounded position. If you need to lift your head up or make any necessary changes or place a pillow under your head, you're welcome to that. Now we're going to go ahead, if it's accessible to you, take the left ankle and bring it on top of the right knee. So then the right knee is still staying bent, the left ankle's on top of the right knee. Now you're going to take your left hand, you're going to push that left knee forward. If you want to deepen the stretch, take your right hand behind your right thigh and pull that right knee in. So left hand pushes left knee forward, and then the right hand pulls that right knee in. So you're feeling a nice stretch here in the hips, right? This is like a variation of a pigeon pose, king's pigeon pose, right? So again, if it's too much for you, you're not feeling comfortable, then don't do that, right? You can just stay like this. Maybe there's no pulling or any pushing. But again, we can deepen the stretch by pushing that left knee down towards the mat and pulling that right knee in towards our chest. We're just going to stay here for 3 more rounds of breath. So again, focusing on the length of the inhalation and the exhalation. Flexing that left foot. And then go ahead and slowly and with support release.
Good, you can shake those legs out if you'd like. Don't worry about all the wiggles and jiggles. Nobody can see you anyway. Now we're going to go ahead on to the opposite side. So again, we're going to flex the foot, flex that right foot, bend that right knee so the right ankle is on top of the left knee. I'm going to take my right hand, I'm going to press that right knee down towards the mat. This feels good right here, so I'm actually not going to opt to lift my left knee into my chest. Maybe as my right hip begins to release a little bit more, I might have some more access to pulling that left knee in. But until then, I'm just going to kind of be here and do what I need to do. Just remembering to breathe. Knowing that our practice is just a practice. Nobody is a master. Nobody will ever master the practice of life. That's why a lot of people think sometimes we come back and we keep on doing it because we keep making mistakes. We come back and then we make more mistakes or less mistakes and we keep coming back and keep coming back and keep coming back. Good. 2 more rounds of breath, so 2 more inhalation and 2 more exhalation. And then when we're ready, we're going to, with support, slowly release that right leg down. We're going to take our feet to be as wide as the mat. So bring your feet about as wide as the mat, or about maybe 2 feet apart. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to take our knees to touch. So we're coming sort of knock-kneed here a little bit, right? So the feet are out. So we're kind of creating like that A shape with the legs. So the feet are flat, about to the width of the mat, and then the knees are touching. That's just going to help release the lower back. And either the left or the right side, whatever feels good for you, go ahead and drop your knees there. And then you're going to go ahead and slowly bring yourself up to sit into a seated position. So I like to take a bolster. I have what's called a lima bean, right? This is made by Sun and, I don't even know, Moon. Oh, didn't have the circle. Sun and Moon. They call this a meditation cushion. You might find them, on the interwebs somewhere. So I like to do this when I'm doing a lot of seated stuff because it just offers me some additional support. So again, I'm just doing that. So I'm going to go ahead and bring myself seated onto that, or just come into a seated position. I'm going to bring my legs into a cross-legged position, something that's comfortable for me. And then when you are ready, I'm just going to make a couple adjustments here on the lima bean. When you are ready, you're going to sit up nice and tall. You're just going to inhale, bring the shoulders up to the ears, and then exhale, roll them back and down. Inhale, shoulders rise. Exhale, back and down. A few more just like this, remembering the direction that you're going, because we're going to be heading in the opposite direction here in a minute. So again, you can have your hands on top of your knees if you like, or down by your side, whatever's going to be more comfortable for you. And then go ahead, head in the opposite direction. Again, inhale as the shoulders come up and exhale as they fall down. Just keep on going, back and forth and forth and back. Just breathe. Good. 2 more. Now we're going to go ahead, inhale, bring the right arm up if it's safe for us, and go ahead and lean over to the left. Inhale, rise, both arms come up to center, exhale over to the right. Just keep on going like this, inhale, rise, exhale, left. Inhale, rise, exhale, right. If it's too much for your shoulders, if you've had recent shoulder surgery, that's a lot of sounds, you are going to go ahead and you're going to want to refrain from bringing your elbow above your shoulder. So again, a few more times. And then the next time when we come back to center, we're going to inhale and bring both arms up, lift our chin up. Exhale, arms float down by the side, chin into the chest. Again, inhale, arms lift. I like to bend my elbows here, tap my fingers. Exhale, arms float down, chin into the chest. Inhale, arms lift. Go ahead and tap those fingers. Exhale, arms float down, chin into the chest. Good, just like that. 5,000 more. Take your time. Go ahead and do 3 more. So remember, as the arms lift, the chin lifts. Tap the fingers. Exhale, arms float down, chin floats down. 2 more. Last one. This time, when we float down, we're going to go ahead and twist over to our right. Bring our gaze over our right shoulder. We're not going to stay too comfortable because we're going to inhale and come back to center and then exhale to the left. Sitting up nice and tall. Inhale to the right. Exhale. Twist. Sorry, I called that kind of jacked up. Inhale to center. Exhale, twist to the left. So the inhalation brings us back into center. Inhale. And then exhale, twist the opposite way. Good, a few more just like that. So again, 3 or 4, whatever feels good for you. But we're not ripping through the pose. We're not going too crazy. We're not trying to hurt ourselves or, whack out our neck or our back. So again, maybe our twists aren't as deep today. Good. One more time on each side. So again, taking your time. And when you go ahead and come back to center, you're going to slowly and mindfully, maybe taking oil like the Tin Man and shoot it into your knees, and you're going to go ahead and take your legs nice and wide as you can. Again, sitting up nice and tall, flexing your feet. You're going to turn your body, your torso, towards that right leg, looking at those right toes. Maybe just walk those hands out a little bit. Right? Maybe we're able to reach onto that foot. But again, maybe we just want to surrender and kind of bow down towards that leg, flexing the left foot. Watch the left foot. All you dancers out there and you gymnasts that point your toes. Flex your foot. I know that habits are created, right? Flex your foot, contracting that quadricep muscle on the right side, getting nice and strong in there, right? So the right foot is nice and flexed. The elongation in the back of the leg is nice and long, like the calcaneus tendon, the Achilles, the calf muscle behind the knee joint, the muscles of the hamstrings. We're getting into the quad here. We're getting a nice stretch in the lower back. Good. Just continue to breathe. You're not trying to do anything more. If you feel more comfortable taking blocks underneath your hands, you can place your blocks here. I'm using the blocks as a prop to hold the camera still. But that will change because today we are getting our iPhone stand. It should be delivered today, so we'll be able to use all the props in the world. Good. So remember, we're practicing a practice that is about us. We're not worrying about other people. We're not worrying about dedicating this practice to so-and-so. We're just being present, giving ourselves every chance. Walking the hands back in, back to center, we're going to go ahead and turn towards the left foot. And again, if you just went, oh man, I just did the left side, then do the opposite. So again, we're contracting our muscles, right? Flexing the feet, pressing the left heel away, allowing those toes to come towards us, turn our torso towards that left leg, and then exhale, twist a bit. So you may notice that this side feels a little bit more tense as we begin to fold down towards that left leg, and that's okay. Again, every side and every body is different, so it's going to be hard for us. It can be challenging for us to, to experience different things on different sides of the body, but just try to be as present as possible. Again, if it's comfortable for you to let your head bow down, let your head bow down. But for me, I feel more comfortable with an open chest. Plus, Sunday I woke up with a stuffy nose, so, now when I drop my head, I start to sound like this all the time. But, good. 3 more rounds of breath, so 3 more inhalation, 3 more exhalation. Good. And then when you're ready, you're going to go ahead and come back to center. You're going to bring both of your legs straight out in front of you. So I'm going to go ahead and twist in this way so you can see from the side. So bring both legs straight out in front of me. I'm just going to bring myself up onto my little prop here. I'm going to flex my feet. I'm going to keep my left leg nice and long. I'm going to sit up nice and straight, right? I'm going to go ahead and bend my right knee, bring my right foot flat onto the ground.
I'm going to stay like this as long as my sits bones are firmly grounded. So my sits bones are firmly grounded. I'm going to cross my right leg. My right foot's firmly grounded. My sits bones are still grounded, so I'm okay here. So I'm going to stay just like this. I'm going to take a deep breath in. On my exhale, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to take and wrap up that right leg. I'm going to bring my right hand behind me like I'm looking over my right shoulder. I'm going to be pulling that right knee in with that left arm towards me. So again, you'll be feeling a nice stretch here in the right hip. Right? This is what they call half Lord of the Fish, or Ardha Matsyendrasana. So again, my left foot is nice and flexed. I'm just sitting up nice and tall, trying to take all the rounding out of my back the best that I can, and just breathe. Static holding in yoga really benefits the muscles of the body, the fibers. So what happens is when we're in a pose for a longer period of time, the body begins to realize that this is where we're going to be for a little bit, so they start to send this oxygenated blood into that area to help to relax some of those muscles, and reduce some of that inflammation. Sometimes we take yoga classes where we're going from pose to pose to pose to pose to pose, and we leave there sweaty and we feel pretty good, right? And then sometimes we take a gentle class and the next day wake up and we're more sore than we were if we took a crazy class, right? Or a class where they called out 100 poses. That's again because we're static here, so we're holding them for a little bit longer. Good. On the next inhale, go ahead and come back to center. Keep the legs in there, or you're just going to twist the opposite way. So we're just twisting the opposite way now. So this is the open twist, right? So if you have a bigger belly here, if you're pregnant, and you have a bigger chest, and it's hard for you to come across the body, then this is going to be the best way for you to come into this variation of the pose, is coming into that open twist. And just breathe, right? So I'm not all slouchy in the shoulders, and I don't know, right? Good. Inhale back to center, straighten that right leg out, and go ahead and pedal those legs out. And we're going to do the same thing, just on the opposite side. So remember, the sits bones, right? The buttocks need to be pressing firmly into the ground. I'm going to flex my right leg. I'm going to cross my left leg over my right. Good. I'm going to still feel nice and grounded. I'm not going to try to round my back, right? Really, really tempting here. So I'm going to try to sit up nice and tall. Take a nice deep breath in. On my exhale, I'm going to wrap up that left leg. I'm going to bring my gaze over my left shoulder like somebody just called my name. Again, my right foot is nice and flexed. Feeling a nice deep stretch here in my left hip. I like to grab onto my shorts here, right? You can grab onto your pants, kind of just pull you a little bit closer. Maybe the eyes fall closed as we just turn into the breath. We're going to be here about 7 to 10 rounds of breath, so that's probably an average about 25 to 30 seconds for most people. So again, remember, when we're making this connection with the breath, I hear a lot of people, often say to me, I'm trying to stop my mind, I've been practicing meditation every day, and so on and so forth. Practicing and practicing and practicing and practicing. We don't practice, right? We don't practice every day, all day long, because, we expect the mind to be out of control, right? We do it just in case. Kind of like car insurance, right? So you get car insurance not in hopes that you get into a car accident, but just in case you do. So that's why we practice meditation. That's why we practice pranayama. That's why we practice, moving the physical body, because you don't want to be able to wake up tomorrow and be like, oh, my back's so sore, I should start doing yoga. There might have been some sort of preventative measures taken if you had practiced the asana earlier. Or my mind's so crazy, I should start meditation. It's going to be really hard for you to start. So start doing it as little bit as you need to every single day, whether it's 30 minutes, that's a little bit, 30 seconds of meditation, 45 seconds, a minute, maybe it's only 3 minutes of asana, but just do something every day, and gradually you'll begin to see that your body is releasing, your mind is becoming more and more relaxed, you're becoming more comfortable in that ability to do that stuff. Keeping your legs as they are. Inhale, come back to center, then exhale, twist the opposite way. So again, this is the open twist, right? So I'm going to turn my head towards you just so you can hear me speak, but don't turn your head so you're looking over that right shoulder. So what happens here in this open twist, again, this is good for people that may be pregnant, that have a big belly or a big chest, where that closed twist is going to be a little challenging for them. That right foot is nice and flexed. The sits bones are grounded. We're taking the rounding out of the back. If you're like me, when I bring my arm behind me, I notice that like my right shoulder gets real jacked up to my ear, so I just bend my right elbow a little bit, really keeping the shoulders away from the ears. trying to twist from the middle part of the back, because the middle part of the back is the part of the back that rarely gets any movement, right? The thoracic section of the spine. So we turn a lot from the cervical, that's just below the head, the lumbars at the base, and then we have the sacrum and the coccyx. Those are fused vertebrae right at the base of the spine. But the middle part, the largest part of the spine, the thoracic section of the spine, gets little movement throughout the day. So make sure we're getting a nice little twist here from the middle part of the back. And we're not trying to overdo it, right? The upper part's going to go, the lower part, the neck. So we just want to be in a place where we're comfortable and breathing. We're just going to stay here. This is just a counter, so you don't have to stay here any longer than maybe 5 or 6 rounds of breath. Again, if you want to stay here super long because it feels great, then stay here all day. Right? On the next inhale, you're going to go ahead and come back to center. You're going to straighten both legs out, and again, you're going to pedal those legs out, bending one knee at a time, making some circles with the ankles. Right, our tendency here is to want to slouch over as I'm doing some sliding off my lima bean, so I'm going to go ahead and take my bean out here for a second. What I like to do when I sit is I take the flesh in my butt and I like to move it out of the way. So I'm trying to sit up nice and tall, right? I'm flexing the feet, making circles with the ankles, bending those legs. We're going to go ahead and bring our hands right in line with our hips and straighten the arms out, coming into Dandasana, the staff pose. So when I straighten my arms out, my butt lifts off the ground because I have really long arms. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bend my elbows a little bit. I'm going to squeeze the shoulder blades together. I'm going to, not squeezing like in a dramatic way, but maybe tracking them towards one another. I'm going to slightly tuck my chin so that my spine is nice and straight. My feet are flexed. I'm engaging my core, and I'm staying strong here. I'm not trying to do this and round over and like I'm sitting here about to eat a bowl of nachos or play a video game. Sitting up nice and tall, trying to keep my body in proper alignment, giving me every chance that I can. Good. And then when you're ready, take a nice deep breath in, and exhale, go ahead and round it. Do what you need to do. Give yourself a little bit of love in here in the legs. We're going to go ahead and do that pose one more time. So again, I don't want to see you sit like, oh yeah, I'm in Dandasana, right? So you're kind of creating, let me see how I can do this on the, like this, right? So you're kind of creating like a 90-degree angle with the body. So the feet are flexed, sitting up nice and tall. Take the flesh out of the, or away from the sits bones. So the sits bones are pressing nice and firm into the ground. Bring those hands by the sides if you need to bend the elbows. So again, you don't want your shoulders jacked up to your ears. This isn't the I don't know staff pose, right? So bring the shoulders down, maybe coming onto the fingertips. Feet are flexed, and we're just breathing. Maybe the eyes are falling closed. If I were Superman, this would be my kryptonite. This is my least favorite posture, which probably means I should do it more, right? So just breathe. Giving yourself a sense of presence here. Good. 3 more rounds of breath. I know it can be challenging. Give yourself some time. Sit up nice and tall. You can do it. 2 more. Last round of breath. Deep breath in. And then exhale. Go ahead and, whew, right? Sometimes Dandasana can be really tough. And what you do is come onto your heels, like I am here, bending the knees. Take a nice deep breath in and just begin to forward fold. Here there's going to be a little bit of rounding in the back. You don't want to come like this, right? But you want to try to maybe push the chest forward. So what I like to think of, right? So if you're doing this, come back up. What I like to think of is, I like to think there's kind of like a magnet here on my chest and then a magnet on my thigh. So I'm going to bring my chest down first because it's hard for me, right? My head's going to follow. I can lean my head out this way and keep my chest that way, right? And then we think we're forward folding, but we're rounding the back. So I want to keep my chest down, bring my chest down first. The head will follow. And again, maybe you can grab onto your toes. Right? And then maybe you want to just go ahead and allow that head to fall down if you like, if that's comfortable for you. Maybe slowly but mindfully you begin to straighten those legs out a little bit. But again, try to take the rounding out of your back. Try to have the flat back as flat as possible. This isn't, there's nowhere in any scripture that I've read in the thousands and thousands of hours of trainings and seminars and all sorts of things that I've done. There's never a moment that I've come across yoga being defined as your ability to create shape with the body. The great sage Patanjali says, Yoga's chitta vritti nirodha, which means yoga is the cessation of the mental modifications of the mind stuff. So yoga is the cessation, the stopping of the mental modifications of the mind.
So the I'm not good enough, so I'm too old, I'm too fat, I'm too stupid, I'm too short, I'm too tall. All of those things that we've almost convinced ourselves that we are, yoga is the cessation, the stopping of those things. Good. On your next breath in, slowly go ahead and inhale. Bring the arms up. Good. And then release the arms down by your side. Make some circles with the ankles. We're going to do that one more time. So just remember, if you're thinking to yourself like, oh, I can't do this, or I can't do that, I can't do that. You also didn't know how to walk. You also didn't know how to eat from a spoon. You also didn't know many things, but you practiced diligently with all earnestness and often, right? So you became pretty good at it, some of you. So we're going to go ahead one more time. Bend those knees, bring those heels in, right? Keeping the back as flat as we can, so we're not going to be rounding like this, right? Trying to keep the back as flat as we can. And again, maybe those legs begin to straighten out. Straighten out even more. Feeling a nice deep stretch here. So the feet are flexed. We're getting a nice stretch here. So what happens when we bend the knees is we save the hamstrings a little bit, right? So we save the hamstrings from being overstretched and potentially injuring the hamstrings. Tearing a hamstring is nothing fun. So again, breathing here. And as we exhale and we fold forward, we're still going to keep those knees bent, right? If you start to feel like a little tightness or tension at lower back, that means that you're doing too much. So maybe you just come back up. And just breathe about 4 more rounds of breath. Starting to feel a little bit too much for my back, so I'm just going to release my feet and just come into a little bit of a forward fold here. Always honoring your body, right? Nobody's going to judge you, nobody's going to unfollow you, and if they do, then fine. Right? Your job is to not live somebody else's life. Your job is to love everything, but most importantly yourself with unconditional love. Maharaji used to say, sabek, 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 which is all one or all together. So knowing that we're all one or we're all together. Good. And then when you are ready, you can go ahead and release those legs straight out in front of you and pedal them out. We're going to go ahead and swing our legs around us, coming onto our hands in a tabletop pose. So if you have knee issues, you can go ahead and take a blanket and bring it underneath here. Maybe you have a rectangular bolster. Maybe you just want to roll up your mat a little bit. Unless you have a cork mat, then you might compromise the structure of that mat. So we're just going to come into a tabletop pose here. Toenails are going to be pressing into the ground. Feet are knees are about 2 fist distance apart. When you look between the knees, you should not see your feet. Middle fingers are pointing forward. Wrist, elbow, shoulders in one straight line. We're going to lift the tailbone up, lift the chin up. And we're going to exhale, press the tailbone down, suck the belly in, rounding the back, bring the chin back towards the navel, towards the belly button. Good. Inhale, tailbone lift. Let that belly hang. Chin's the last thing to come up. Exhale, tuck the tailbone, suck the belly in. Chin's the last thing to come in. Just doing a few rounds of these, the cat-cows. Again, taking our time. Breathing here. Good. About 700 or 800 more. If you think this is so easy. 2 more. Last one. Good. Going ahead and coming back here into a neutral tabletop position. I'm going to invite you to take your right hand up to the top right corner of the mat like this. Then you're going to go ahead, you're going to take your left leg, you're going to bring it straight back behind you, just like this. So see how sometimes the hips want to open up? We're going to go ahead and make sure that left hip is closed down. Good, you can stay like that, right? Or maybe you want to go ahead and take the right hand to bring it straight out in front of you. Maybe you want to go ahead and lift the left leg behind you, but keep rolling that left hip down. Wherever you need to be. And remember to breathe. If you need to release that right hand and that left knee, that's totally okay. Checking in with the left hip. And breathe, pressing into the entirety of that left hand, not just the base of the hand, not just the fingers, the whole hand is pressing firmly into the ground. In fact, you may want to press even a little bit more weight into the index finger and the thumb of the left hand, or whatever hand is on the mat. Good. And then when you're ready, you're going to go ahead and slowly release, bringing them in. Good. You can shake out that left wrist and shake out that right knee. And lucky for you, that's the side we're going to next. So take your left arm, your left hand up to the top left corner of your mat. You can go ahead and take that right leg and bring that right leg straight behind you. Again, stay like this, or bring your left hand off. And then maybe your right leg back. So wherever you need to be is totally okay. Remember, just breathing, checking in with that right hip, making sure we're not opening that hip up, right? Staying nice and strong and breathe. Pressing through that right heel, get a nice elongation on the back of that leg. So we're flexing that right foot. Remember to flex, not point. Good. Taking 2 more rounds of breath, so 2 more inhalation and 2 more exhalation. And then we're going to go ahead and slowly work ourselves down, shaking out those opposite sides. Good. Now we're going to go ahead and we're just going to make some circles here with our hips. So just press yourself back like you're coming almost into a child's pose maybe. Right? Using the strength of the arms to help you push your butt back to your heels. It's about 3 or 4 more circles in this direction. Again, taking your time. There is no rush. There is no race. Then heading in the opposite direction. Good. Few more rounds just like this. And then we're going to go ahead, we're going to bring our knees up into about the center of our mat. When we find our knees into the center of that, we're not going to stay there too long. We're going to curl our toes underneath us. We're going to press our butt back to our heels. We're going to lift our hips up into the air if we can for a downward facing dog. So the downward facing dog, you may need to walk your feet back a little bit more. And we're just going to go ahead and maybe pulse here a little bit. So we're going to inhale, maybe roll up into a high push-up or a high plank. Exhale, press back. So another variation of this is you would just drop your knees and you would do the same thing. Push back and come forward, right? Push back and come forward. Or if you can, come into that downward facing dog. Bring the gaze between the feet and then inhale, gaze between the hands. Exhale between the feet, down dog. Inhale between the hands, high plank. Good. 3 more. Take your time. Nice, good final stretch here for the shoulders, for the backs of the legs. Good. And then last one here. We're going to pause here for just a couple rounds of breath. Nothing too crazy. Pardon my belly hanging out. And then we're going to go ahead and slowly lower ourselves down, bringing ourselves back onto our backs. We're going to go ahead, if we can, take a block, take a bolster, take a blanket, take a pillow. So a pillow. Here's a pillow. Pillow, everybody. Everybody, pillow. Good to meet you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a pillow and I'm going to place it right here at the base of my spine. So right above the crack of my butt. I'm just going to go ahead and bring myself lying down over this. And as I do this, I'm just going to stay here and I'm going to create a little bit of a back bend here. We did a lot of forward folding today, so I'm going to stay here for about a minute or so. And we're just going to breathe. If you'd like to deepen this stretch, you're welcome to do that by bringing your arms overhead, but just be mindful that it will deepen that stretch there. So again, the pillow is going to be a nice way to offer some additional support there in the lower back. So my shoulders are pressing into the ground, but my lower back, I would say from about my shoulder blades all the way to the top of the crack of the butt are off the ground, and then my buttocks are on the ground, the back of my legs, my knees, heels, calves, etc. You can bring your arms by your side. You can maybe turn your head from side to side. You can give yourself a hug here if you'd like to do that for a little stretch of the shoulders, or reach the arms up. Whatever feels good for you if you're in this back bend. If a back bend is not really accessible to you, then you'll just be bringing yourself lying. You'll just be lying yourself on your back, maybe with some support underneath your head. Good, about 7 more rounds of breath here. So again, 7 more inhalation and 7 more exhalation. And then when you are ready from this back bend, the best way to get out of this is go ahead and bend your knees, bring your feet flat onto the mat just like we did before, pressing the knees forward like coming into that little bit of a bridge pose. Take that pillow out, slowly lower yourself onto your back. I'm actually going to go ahead and take the pillow and place it underneath my head, and then I'm just going to pull my knees into my chest. Both knees here, just making some circles. Making sure to go in both directions as it might feel different. And then go ahead and plant those feet nice and firmly onto the ground. Take the knees to touch, take those feet out to be as wide as the mat. If there's anything else that you absolutely have to do, your body's saying, hey, psst, do this, you have to do this today, you 100% have to, then you can go ahead and do that. Otherwise, begin to straighten your legs out, lying nice and flat onto your back, bringing your palms, your arms down by your side, palms facing up, coming into our final resting pose, Shavasana. Take your time to get there. Once you find yourself into your final resting pose, you can allow the eyes to fall closed as maybe you began the practice. Again, just observing everything that you've experienced in this practice, being mindful and thankful that we were able enough to practice, that we found enough time, and even if you need to get the whole practice in, that's fine. Just remember that it is up to you to show up every day. You make the excuse not to, and we should prevent ourselves from doing that. So I invite you to stay here as long as you'd like. And as you're lying here, I'm going to, again, thank you for showing up. Thank you for being present here on the mat or wherever it may be. And I'm going to offer to you the mantra for the teacher inside of you, the absolute teacher of truth. Om Bolo Shri Satguru Bhagavan Ki Jai. 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 Namaste. Stay as long as you'd like in this final relax, remembering that you are enough, that you are love. And if you need a reminder of that, just keep showing up, logging in, coming to practice. If you have any questions about anything, please feel free to reach out. But if you don't know how to reach out, I'm going to give you the quickest way, and that's to close your eyes and place your hands on your heart and listen. Because that's where I reside, that's where you reside, that's where we all reside. May you see that oneness, speak that oneness, be that oneness. I am loving awareness.